Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel PHYSICSSIRJEE, and here we are in JEE Mains 2021 revision series. We have already done 3 videos and we were into heat and thermodynamics. Thermal properties of matter was the topic number 3, and I've promised you that topic number 4 would be based on kinetic theory of gases. Okay, so there will be another video on heat and thermodynamics where we round off the thermal physics completely with entropy, second law of thermodynamics and everything. Okay, so this series includes, as usual, new practice problems interspersed with the previous year's questions, that is PYQs, and the most debated ones. I will try to arrange them in a sequence wherein we'll have a discussion of the problems, and through that, the theory revision will be done for the last leg of your preparation. Solving PYQs, I always call it as the alpha and omega of your preparation, the first and the last of your preparation. So we'll move ahead. And in case you are new to this channel or new to this series that has been running on this channel, I would request you to watch the announcement video of this particular series first so that you get an idea of what is being covered in this particular video. Also, try to watch the previous video, that is a topic number 3 of this particular heat and thermodynamics, so that there is a continuity in the way the explanations are done and the concepts are discussed in this particular series and the channel. Okay, so the link of the video is in the description below, and also the link of the series is in the description below. Okay, so also during the last leg of the JEE mains physics preparation, one of the things that bugs the students is what to do with the extra syllabus, the syllabus that is usually now done in the coaching centers for JEE advanced preparation. So one of the things that you could do is to ensure that you solve the previous year's question papers, especially 2019 and 20, which were conducted by NTA. Okay, so the lot of questions keep repeating from these topics. So trying to study the concepts associated with this through these PYQs is going to be of utmost importance. I tried my best to involve these concepts in this particular series that you see on the thumbnail right now. I've already included 2019 both the shifts papers, and 2020 January shift was already done. 2020 September shift videos are going to be added as I move ahead into this, right? So by then, please do try to finish this particular series. Again, the similar format through PYQs, we take up the concepts. Okay, so let's start with the first question of the day. And as I keep telling you, the best way to enjoy this video and the series, long videos with all the concepts covered, is to have pen and paper, like a scribble pad that you usually have in your JEE mains examination. Pause the video at every place. Try to attempt the question for 45 to 50 seconds, and then go ahead with the solution and the concept explanation. Okay, so that would be the best way to enjoy instead of just watching it like a movie. Okay, so let's move ahead. The number density of molecules of a gas depends on their distance r from the origin, as n of r is equal to n naught into e power minus alpha r power 4, and then the total number of molecules is proportional to. This is a question. I hope you have given it a try. So we'll try to move ahead. So the important part is the proportional to. So he's not asking you to integrate and get to the value. So that is where you should have caught the pulse of the question. So the usual solution on the left hand side, right? I have pasted the options on the top for our convenience. Okay, so the usual solution that you see in the textbooks would be this, right? But if you try to use the dimension analysis and associate the fact that whatever he gave is the number density, right? So n naught that is in front of that function is having a dimensions of number per unit volume. Volume can be written as r cube, proportional to. Okay, so the value of alpha, one more important thing, whenever you write e power something, that power should be dimensionless. Therefore, the value of alpha should be of dimensions of 1 by r power 4, so that the product is power dimensionless. So alpha is proportional to 1 by r power 4. So since the number of molecules are being asked in the question, then you have to manipulate the n naught and alpha such that the final answer should not have any dimensions. Okay, so since n naught is already n by r cube, and r cube can be associated with alpha power minus 1 by 4 whole cube, right? So can you see r here is alpha power minus 1 by 4. Directly substituted, you end up getting, without writing the integral, you should be able to answer it as option A. Okay, so I hope you appreciate this and can save the time in the exam. Next one, problem on dissociation was asked in the September shift. Initially, a gas of diatomic molecules is contained in a cylinder of volume V1 at a pressure P1 and temperature 250 Kelvin. Assuming that 25% of the molecules get dissociated, causing a change in number of moles. The pressure of the resulting gas at temperature 2000 Kelvin when contained in a volume of 2V1 is given by P2. The ratio of this P2 and P1 is being asked in the question. So dissociation is another favorite topic of JEE mains. Quite a few number of questions have been repeated on this concept. I have not included all of them because of the length of the video. So please do check out those questions and please be thorough with that concept. So how to be thorough? So let's go ahead. So whenever dissociation takes place, in this one, a dimer is given. Can you look at the right hand side of the screen? We'll go back to the solution. So when a diatomic molecule is actually dissociating, then if the number of moles initially is n, and he said 25% is dissociating, that means n by 4 such number is gone out of this, then 2 times of n by 4 of these would be formed. Therefore, the total number of moles in the gaseous system would be the summation of these two numbers, both the reactants and the products. So when you add up, you end up getting 5n by 4 in comparison to the original n, which is to be taken in your PV equal to nRT equation. So when you write PV equal to nRT initial state, you'll write n, and whereas in the final state, I'll borrow this 5n by 4 to this position where temperature he has already given us 2000 Kelvin. So divide the two equations, and if you are careful with your calculation, I don't think anything can stop you from collecting the marks easily in the exam. Okay, so you should also realize in this particular question that PV equal to nRT is a gaseous equation which is independent of atomicity. There are quite a few concepts during KTG and this video that you will be recognizing that they are independent of atomicity. That means whether it is diatomic gas, triatomic gas, it doesn't matter. PV equal to nRT still should hold as long as ideal gas is taken into account. Okay, so let's move forward. So this is the practice problems that I would request you to solve for those who are especially interested in JEE Advanced and IOQP, the Indian Olympiad, Physics Olympiad, that's going to be held within no time. So please make sure that you try to do these two problems from Pathfinder. Okay, so again, both the problems are on dissociation, very simple, decent, and easily solvable questions, but very, very important conceptually. Okay, so I'll come up with the solutions of these as usual in the Pathfinder solution series. Okay, so you can wait till that point of time or check your answer in that particular book. Next one. The change in the magnitude of volume of an ideal gas when small additional pressure delta P is applied at a constant temperature is the same as the change when the temperature is reduced by a small quantity delta T at constant pressure. The initial temperature and the pressure of the gas were 300 Kelvin and 2 atmosphere respectively. Okay, so if delta T is equal to C delta P, then value of C is, he has given two different conditions. Okay, a gas was initially taken for constant temperature process, and at second time he's talking about a constant pressure process. Okay, so try to give it a try, and here we move with the solution. Okay, so on the left hand side you would see a similar solution. I won't say the right hand side whatever I have written is a better solution or anything, but the symbolic way in which I wrote, I think it would be faster. Okay, so when you have PV equal to nRT writable, then under constant temperature dP by dV should be minus P by V. You'll write PdV plus VdP is equal to 0 and rearrange. Whereas for constant pressure, the dt by dV should be equal to PV by nR, right? So you could say that P at constant pressure, this would become PdV and this would be nR dt. Then rearrange, you'll get dt by dV is P by nR. So he said that he wants the change in temperature in the second process is to change in pressure in the first process for same dVs, right? So if you cancel the dV by dividing the LHS of this, the RHS comes out to be actually negative of V by nR. But since in the question, let's go back and check, he said the magnitude part. So I have removed the minus sign from here because I'm looking at the mod of this thing. Okay, so let me put the mod to make it more clearer. So we're looking at the mod of this. Okay, so the value of that comes out to be V by nR, which can be rearranged to write as T by P. So the value of T by P can be substituted. Numericals are given T by P. You end up getting 150 as the required answer. Okay, so let's move forward. It's more about reading the question carefully in KTG and thermodynamics. So, usually you'll have 6 to 7 lines, and especially when diagram is not there, you're supposed to be very carefully noting down the information. The best way is to have your scribble pad and write the keywords when you're reading the question on screen. Unlike the offline question paper where you have chance of underlining the questions, you should be practicing very well in your online examination or online tests, wherein keywords, whatever are there, you need to write them down on your scribble pad as you take down the information to solve. Okay, so very good habit to inculcate. So let's move ahead. A vertical closed cylinder is separated into two parts by a frictionless piston of mass m and of negligible thickness. The piston is free to move along the length of the cylinder. The length of the cylinder above the piston is L1 and that below the piston is L2, such that L1 is greater than L2. Each part of the cylinder contains n moles of an ideal gas at equal temperature T. Okay. If the piston is stationary, its mass m will be given by. Okay. So here's given 4 options. Said piston is stationary. That's the most important part in this particular question. I hope you have given it a try. Let's move ahead with the solution. A very basic, simple question with a lot of information. It's about static equilibrium case, right? He said finally piston is at rest. So if you draw the free body diagram of the piston, then P1A would be acting downward and P2A would be acting in the upward direction, which should balance the mg, right? So you just write that. And for P2, you'll write nRT divided by V2. V2 is AL2, and this P1 will be written as nRT by AL1 because you're talking about the volume of this particular part. Okay, so and rearranging, you should get the value of the mass in terms of the given quantities. There is no practically any process taking place in this particular problem. It's a pretty simple static equilibrium situation. Okay, right. So let's move forward. Partitions wise and mixing of gases wise, practice is of utmost importance for people who are appearing for JEE advanced and also IOQP. So these are the two practice problems, very cute ones, and but very, very interesting, and it should be very, very clear in your concept in order to be able to solve, especially the 15th one. I like this problem a lot. Okay, so please do try these things and I'll come up with the solution in the Pathfinder solution series. Okay, right. And my suggestion, genuine suggestion, those who are attempting international Olympiads and national Olympiads in physics, especially thermodynamics part, don't miss out on the objective type questions of your heat and thermodynamics. I think chapter 8 thermal physics in the book of Pathfinder. They are very well compiled, as if the already book is a very well compiled problem solving book, but I think thermodynamics is an exhaustive problem set, and objective type caters to your needs definitely. So please make sure you try to solve those objectives whenever you get the time. Okay, so let's move forward. Next type of question deals with the open system of gas. Usually the gases that we are asked questions for are closed containers. So let's see what happens if you have an open system. A temperature of an open room of volume 30 meter cube increases from 17 degrees centigrade to 27 degrees due to sunshine. The atmospheric pressure in the room remains at 1 into 10 power 5 pascals. If Ni and Nf are the number of molecules in the room before and after the heating, then Nf minus Ni will be. Okay, pretty straightforward. Again, use of thermodynamic gas state equation. Okay, right. There's a question in HC Verma also which deals with internal energy of such a system. So I'll give you a bonus fact on that as we move along. Huh. So a lot of steps are written. So I'll just give you a short way. The idea is to write PV is equal to nRT, and you should realize that the volume is remaining constant. Number of moles are changing because it's an open system. The amount of volume of the gas contained in that room remains always the same, but the moles that are contained could be exchanged with outside surroundings depending on the temperature. You heat the gas more, its RMS velocity increases, and therefore more molecules will escape the room, and therefore N will reduce. So the product of N and T remains constant as long as P and V individually are constant. Okay, so in such a scenario, you would realize that internal energy of the ideal gas in the open room remains constant because it would be related to the not individually N or T, but the product of NT or product of PV for that matter, right? So degrees degrees of freedom. F by 2 PV is the internal energy of the gas, so PV remains constant. Okay, and once you take N1 and N2 subtraction, you end up getting the required answer. And as expected, if the temperature increases, lesser molecules are there inside, so answer is negative. Okay, so let's move forward. Next question is on a ideal gas versus real gas condition that was asked in the exam, right? Very old one, but a very interesting question and important one, and could repeat in the future examinations in different forms. I'll tell you why this is important. There is a question on real gas also in your NCERT exercises. So we'll discuss that also as we move along. So there are two diagrams. In one case, the chamber contains an ideal gas opening to vacuum, and second case, there is a real gas. Okay, so there are two identical chambers completely thermally insulated from surroundings. Both chambers have a partition wall dividing the chambers in two compartments. Compartment 1 is filled with an ideal gas and compartment 3 is filled with a real gas. Compartments 2 and 4 are vacuum. A small hole orifice is made in the partition walls and the gases are allowed to expand into the vacuum. This is called free expansion, as we talk about in the context of ideal gas. Statement 1, no change in temperature of gas takes place when ideal gas expands in vacuum. However, the temperature of real gas goes down. That means cooling takes place when it expands into vacuum. That's statement 1. Statement 2, the internal energy of an ideal gas is only kinetic in nature. Right, when we consider ideal gas, right, we talk about kinetic energy only, no potential energy, no interactions. The internal energy of real gas is kinetic as well as potential is the statement 2. And then after reading all this, you have to mark the correct option pertaining to whether each of these is true or false, and if both are true, is statement true the correct reasoning for statement 1 or not. Okay, so try this one out, think about it for 45 seconds to 1 minute, and then only go ahead with the correct answer. Okay, so let's move forward to the solution of this. So the idea is actually in this particular problem, the statement that you're given in ideal gas, the molecules are considered as point particles, and for point particles there is no internal excitation, vibration or rotation. For an ideal gas, the internal energy can be only translational kinetic energy, and but for real gas, both kinetic as well as potential energy will be considered. Okay, so in this particular problem, that statement 2 is correct, but statement 1 is not going to be correct. Okay, so real gas going down in the cooling manner is not going to be a correct situation. Okay, so in this particular problem, this statement 1 is not going to be right. Okay, so statement 1 is false and statement 2 is true. Okay, let's move forward. A more interesting question is at the back side of your NCERT exercises. I have tried to convert that subjective question into an objective based question. So I'll answer this one in the NCERT physics in-depth doubts analysis series. Okay, so till then, just go through this question carefully, wherein you are given two graphs of oxygen gas from T1 to T2, and the graph axis are PV by T versus P. Okay, right? And based on that, 4 options are given. One or more than one may be correct. So try this one out. Okay. Next one, number of molecules in a volume of 4 centimeter cube of a perfect monatomic gas at some temperature T and at a pressure of 2 centimeter of mercury is close to. So he's talking about how many molecules are there when information about mean kinetic energy of molecule, or mean means average, at temperature T is given by this many ergs, and G value is given, and density of mercury is given as 13.6 gram per cc. Okay, so based on all this information, you are supposed to discuss the number of molecules, pressure of 2 centimeters of mercury. So many calculations he has interspersed. Okay, right. So let's see the solution. On the right side of your screen, just concentrate. PV equal to nRT, alternative forms you should be very well aware of, or in the exam you should be able to quickly derive. Okay, so P is equal to N by V RT, where N by V will be number of moles per unit volume. Okay, and then you can write small n as capital N, which is total number of molecules, divided by Na, which I write for Avogadro's number. Okay, so capital N divided by Na is the number of moles. Okay, I separated that Na and made it into division for R. Therefore, I'll have number of molecules divided by volume multiplied by R by Na. R by Na is a standard constant called as Boltzmann constant K that you're all familiar, and N by V will be the number concentration. So when someone asks you what is number concentration, which in NCERT textbook, we'll keep writing this with a symbolic notation of small n subscript V, number per unit volume. Okay, right. So this is also an alternative form which he tries to use. So mean kinetic energy is related to 3 by 2 kT. Okay, that this you should be very well aware of. How do you derive this particular thing? You know that mean kinetic energy is related to half mass of the molecule into VRMS square. And what is VRMS? VRMS can also be written as square root of, the famous form is root 3RT by capital M, but you can also rearrange it as 3KT by small m. What is small m here? I'm writing small m is the mass of the molecule, single molecule. So substitute this one here, you end up getting 3 by 2 KT, which in turn he gave 3 by 2 KT as this number. Okay, right? And since he's substituting everything in CGS units, this problem is in complete CGS units. So leave this in ergs. This was in erg, and 2 centimeters of He, volume of 4 centimeter cube. So PV by KT, and P can be written as that value of rho G into H. H is the 2 centimeters. So this should be H actually. It wrote P here. So rho G H. H was given as 2 centimeters, rho is taken, G is taken, and then 4 cc and K value and T value, KT. From here he has substituted. He didn't substitute for K and T separately. The value of KT was substituted as the 8 by 3 into 10 power minus 14. So this was the substitution. Approximately you end up getting an answer which is associated with this. Always look for closest possible answer in this kind of a scenario. Okay, so let's move forward. Another one, which is a very interesting concept. We'll discuss more and more in details as we move along in this video, and more numerical problems also on this concept. Cooking gas containers are kept in a lorry moving with uniform speed. The temperature of the molecules inside will be, so when they are moving with uniform speed, during this uniform speed, that's what we mean, during this uniform speed, not from the start. He's not talking about the start. So during that uniform speed motion, what will happen to the temperature? Does it increase, decrease, remain same, or decrease for some, increase for another? Is that possible? We'll have to check. So you should realize the internal energy calculation for an ideal gas that you're talking about, the internal energy as idea is associated with the kinetic energy, but that is always calculated with respect to Cm. So whatever the internal energy formula that you write, U is equal to degrees of freedom divided by 2 into nRT for n moles of an ideal gas. This idea is always calculated with respect to Cm. So this is an energy which is associated with a random motion of molecules and not the orderly motion. Whereas for an outside observer, if the beaker or the gas container is moving with certain velocity, that's an orderly velocity or a velocity of center of mass. So that has no effect on the temperature. It's quite obvious, right? When you have a fever or anything, when you put the thermometer, and thermometer actually reads the same temperature from your body, irrespective of whether you are sitting and taking the reading, or whether you are in a bus and you are taking a reading, it doesn't matter. So temperature and in turn internal energy of an ideal gas is independent of frame of reference. So based on that logic, you should realize the answer should be C. Okay, so let's move forward. So the kinetic energy that he's talking about, he is the kinetic energy associated with the center of mass or the random motion kinetic energy. It's also known as thermal motion. All these names mean the same. Okay. Next one, for a given gas at 1 atmosphere pressure, RMS speed of molecules is 200 meter per second at 127 degrees centigrade. At 2 atmosphere pressure and 227 degrees centigrade, the RMS speed of the molecules will be. So he has given an ideal gas. that is what we have to assume. If nothing is mentioned, always take ideal gas. He didn't mention it here. So he's taken it for granted that students are supposed to assume that. Okay. So RMS speed is another concept where they have repeated tons of questions, and you can keep going through your previous JEE papers. You'll find a lot of questions. I will not be putting all those questions in this video, but you can check it out. I picked one of them. Okay. So I had a lot of choice there. So the idea is to establish the formula of RMS speed using kinetic theory of gases. You should realize it is root 3 RT by M, if I remember it correctly. It has nothing to do with the pressure idea. It is more about the temperature for a given gas. Okay, so once you take up that idea correctly, then we should be able to realize that the ratio only depends on temperature, and the pressure increase 1 atmosphere to 2 atmosphere doesn't figure in this particular calculation. So a lot of you must be curious how we actually arrive at root 3 RT by M. Okay, so in our syllabus, in our JEE syllabus or 11th and 12th class syllabus, we don't have the proof actually, because it's out of syllabus. It's slightly having mathematics, which is cumbersome and tough. But for those who are interested in Olympiads, and also the basic understanding of how to arrive at these kind of situations, because modified questions can appear in JEE Advanced. So let's have a very quick look at what gives us this formula of root 3 RT by M. Okay, so the ideal gas and the KTG, that is kinetic theory of gases, assumes a distribution of velocities for the molecules called as Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. Okay, this Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution talks about the probability of velocity distributions versus the velocity. Okay, right. So that probability, which is also known as P of V function or F of V function, for this distribution is given by this very ugly looking big formula. Okay, so X means E power. Okay, right. So this distribution discusses the distribution of molecules. What it means actually is that F of V is the probability of F of V dV, which is the area of a small strip here. Let me take a small strip here. Okay, this would be, by simple idea of area of graphs, that would be the F of V dV. This is having a domain of V to V plus dV, right? So on this side it is V, on this side it would be V plus dV, right? So we're talking about area under the graph from V to V plus dV. So this is going to be the probability of finding a particular fraction of molecules, or number of molecules per total molecules, or probability of finding molecules in the range, velocity range of V to V plus dV. Okay, so this discussion tells you that KTG is only valid if the number of molecules is very large in number. That's where Avogadro number and all these things come into picture. Okay, so you can never talk about probability of finding exact one velocity. There's nothing called as probability of finding velocity of 600 meter per second. It is always 600 to 601 meter per second, or 600 to 601.5 meter per second. That is always an area that discusses the probability. Okay, right. So that's what the effect of this function is. Now, how do you get these formulae? In this distribution, the topmost point, the peak, is given by differentiation of this F of V equal to 0. The solution of that comes out to be root 2 RT by M, which is called as most probabilistic or most probable velocity. The second type of formula is the average velocity. It's basically taken by taking the average of that probabilities, which is integration of V times of F of V dV. F of dV is the probability, right? And the denominator, which is sum of all the probabilities, is 1. Basically, I've written it as an ornament, but it should be 1, right? So this denominator here is equal to 1. I'm not going to spoil that slide by writing it. Just try to understand that this is going to be 1. Similarly, RMS velocity is root of mean of the square. Okay, so square root of mean of the square functions, right? So V squares probabilities that we are going to take and integrate, and again denominator is 1. And when you do this with this as the substitution, you end up getting root 3 RT by M. Okay, and you could see the peak is the VP is this point. This point is your root 2 RT by M. Okay, and V average comes out to be somewhere here, which is root 8 RT by pi M, and VRMS comes out to be somewhere here. So VRMS is the highest of the three. for Maxwell distribution. Okay, so let's move forward. And you could see on the left bottom of your screen, if the temperature increases, the graph's area, remember, is always going to be the same, but the peak is going to get shifted towards the right. Okay, so the rightward shifted thing is always T2, which is greater than T1. Okay, right, area is always 1. Area is nothing but the sum of all probabilities, right? So area of that graphs, both graphs, if someone asks what whose area is bigger, both the areas are equal to 1, and otherwise the probability distribution is not going to be correct. And on the left side, this is not just probability, it should be called probability distribution. Okay, area is the probability. Okay, right. So let's move forward. A practice question on Maxwellian distribution. 3 different dn by dv's graphs are given. So remember, the probability distribution f of v or p of v is given by 1 by total number of molecules into dn by dv, whereas you can also write only dn by dv's as y axis. Okay, then it won't be probability distribution. Then the area under the graph gives you not 1, but you'll get the total number of molecules. So either he can give 1 by n dn by dv or dn by dv, which in this problem he has changed a bit. Which of the following may be the correct matching? Okay, right. So A, B, C are 3 gases. You are supposed to discuss which gas gives you which proper matching. Okay, comment your answer along with the timestamp. I'll try to correct if you are wrong, so that you need not wait till I provide the solution in the PHYSICSSIRJEE quickies series. Okay, you can check out the PHYSICSSIRJEE quickies also in the description below. Okay, so let's move forward. Another Maxwellian distribution question, just to make sure that you understood the concept that I have taught, is from the AITS select series. It's a question from a China AITS paper that I have set in the past. Okay, so try to read the options very carefully, and this is one or more than one. Try to comment your answer with the timestamp, or you can wait for me to provide the solution in the AITS select series. So this will truly test whether you understand the Maxwellian distribution, not the formula. No need to mug up the formula. What does it mean is more important to you. Okay, right. So this is dn by dv graph again, not probability distribution. Okay, it's a 1 by it's a dn by dv. Okay, similar problem, simple problem on a concept of pressure. Okay, so we are back to the PYQs from JEE mains, April 2019. If 10 power 22 gas molecules, each of mass 10 power minus 26 kg, collide with a surface perpendicular to it elastically per second over an area of 1 meter square with a speed of 10 power 4 meter per second, the pressure exerted by the gas molecules will be of what order? He's asking order. Okay, no need to calculate. He's just discussing the order of this particular problem. Okay, so let's try to see what is meant by order also as a part of this question. Okay, right. So pressure is always due to the collision with the walls, and the value of that pressure is the change in momentum divided by time taken, and therefore the value of the pressure would be the force divided by area. And we will substitute all the values that has given: 10 power 22 molecules, 2 mass of each one, velocity, and divided by time and area, which are both unit, and you end up getting 2 into 10 power 0. Okay, so 2 into 10 power 0, and 10 power 0 was not there. So it was a question where bonus was given. Wrong spelling for that. Okay, so it was a bonus question because the answers did not match with any of the options that were provided. So this is a lesson for you. Every year there will be quite a few number of questions in all the 3 subjects, maths, physics, and chemistry, where there will be wrong answers in the database of NTA. So you should be very thorough and confident with your concept. Okay, don't try to twist your concept to get to the answer. In case you got an answer and you're very sure with your calculation, you should be going ahead and not waste time to redo that one. So this is a very important lesson for you. Another one, a gas molecule of mass m at the surface of the earth has kinetic energy equivalent to 0 degrees centigrade. If it were to go up straight without colliding with any other molecules, how high it would rise? Assume that the height attained is much less than the radius of the earth. That means you should understand why this reasoning is given. Okay, so I hope you have tried it properly. Okay, I'll go ahead with the explanation. The idea of this is to ensure that the gravity is uniform. Once you are very close to the Earth's surface, we can assume the acceleration due to gravity is a uniform value. That's what he wants you to take up into account. Okay, so here's the solution for it. You should know that the kinetic energy, as I already talked about, is 3 by 2 kT. K is the Boltzmann constant, which you can rearrange and write this. I already discussed this, how to derive the average kinetic energy, VRMS. Another form of VRMS is root 3 RT by capital M, where capital M is molar mass, and now you have single molecule, okay, where you write this as K. So that one, you'll assume all of this energy is utilized to actually gain the height, and therefore the Ke of each molecule, which is this number, is lost in the form of, or gained in the form of, lost in the form of potential energy. So the Ke is lost and P is gained, and you're equating, and please make sure that you write the T in the Kelvin form, and that's why these big numbers will come into picture. Okay, so the answer should be D, which is this. So let's move forward. Another practice problem on the hypothetical distributions. This is one of the favorites of some of the Olympiads and also in some JEE advanced papers. And in the past, they have not appeared, but they can actually to test your understanding of Maxwell distribution. So they'll remove the Maxwell distribution and give you a hypothetical P versus V graph and ask you to estimate the area under the graph conceptually. Then how many molecules are having a speed between V0 to V0, and also for this distribution in terms of these numbers V0 and 2V0, what is the most probable speed and average speed. Okay, so comment the answer along with the timestamp. 1, 2, and third one is a subjective question, so you can write it down. And in terms of V0, I'll explain these problems in the PHYSICSSIRJEE quickies series. Okay, so let's move forward. Another one, this one is slightly tougher. This is aimed at the people who are looking for Olympiads and IOQ. Okay, so try to go through this question carefully. Try to understand a new variation of y that he has given in the y-axis, and x-axis is the usual velocity. Graph is discrete, as you could see. It goes constant and then rises up to another constant and comes and falls down to another constant in this range. Again, he's asking what is the RMS for this kind of a gas. Okay, so comment your answer below or wait for me to provide the solution. Okay, so next set of questions will be on the concept of mean free path and collision of molecules with walls and itself, etc. So before I go there, I'll want to give you a basic description of how we arrive at the formula of the mean free path. Okay, so we'll go one by one. A lot of things on screen. Let's just follow my lead. Okay, so in the figure one, as you could see, when two molecules are going in one particular opposite directions, they are about to collide only if the gap between them is lying in this particular radius. Okay, so from side view, if you see that there will be a sphere of collision. Okay, so and that particular sphere will have a radius which is equal to the diameter of each molecule. If the molecules are farther than whatever the sphere is, then they won't collide. So the effective area of collision is pi radius square, where radius of that sphere of collision would be nothing but diameter of each molecule. That's why pi d square becomes a very important part in the mean free path. Coming to the figure 2, once these molecules are whatever in the sphere and on the cross section circle, I should say, not sphere, I should have used the word circle, pi r square, and then there is a cylinder of collision, okay, within which a lot of other molecules are there, and this molecule goes and hits it. So in that volume of the sphere where the molecule travels for time t seconds, assume molecule started here, and after t seconds, v times t distance it has traveled, it would have traversed and hit all the molecules which are there in this volume of a cylinder. Okay, so that volume would be pi d square into v into t. Okay, right? Therefore, the distance traveled, vt divided by the volume of interaction multiplied by number of molecules per unit volume, that n subscript v gives you the estimation for the mean free path. Okay, so this mean distance per collision would be coming out to be this if we make up this kind of a estimate. Okay, but this estimate needs a correction, because in this idea I've assumed that only one molecule is moving, other molecules are at rest and they are waiting for this molecule to come and hit. But we have started with the figure 1 where not only the molecule that went in is moving, but also other targets which are there also will have a distribution of their own. Okay, so that correction becomes slightly out of syllabus calculation for us. So the mean free path expression in the previous page has a flaw. It assumes that the target molecules are at rest, and when in fact they have very high average velocity. So what is needed is the average relative velocity and the calculation of that velocity from the molecular distribution using Maxwell's Boltzmann distribution, etc. So using that distribution, which is out of syllabus, the value of that V relative average comes out to be root 2 times of the V average of each one. Okay, you might be wondering, they're coming opposite direction, it should be 2V, right? It's not from the direct single V and V, it is a distribution hitting another distribution. Okay, remember, it is a distribution of these molecules, Maxwell distribution, and distribution of these molecules, where you are supposed to calculate the relative average. Okay, so slightly difficult, not out of syllabus. If someone's interested, you can actually check out the Atkins book for exactly how we can arrive at this. But at JEE level and IOQP level also, you don't need that discussion. Okay, so the effective volume now becomes pi d square into nars time Vt, a root 2 term extra comes. So the number of collisions that you considered last time are now going to be root 2 times more, because the targets are not stationary, but targets are also moving. So the correction root 2 comes because of that aspect. Okay, and pi d square and n subscript V is what? Number of molecules divided by volume, and I use the gas law equation. I'll write P by KT here in the denominator. Okay, so this is another form or the formula that people will remember for our mean free path. Okay, so I prefer this left hand side one, and even this blue colored one at times. You could see, I'll now take up the problems. You would see how the blue colored formula is also useful. Okay, right. So with that discussion, also one important NCERT problem I would like to take up. It's the back side of your textbook. In the chapter 13, 10th problem. So this is the problem given, and this is a solution given at the backside. Okay, so let's try to understand. Estimate the mean free path and collision frequency of a nitrogen molecule in a cylinder containing nitrogen at 2 atmosphere and temperature of 17 degrees centigrade. Take the radius of nitrogen molecule to be roughly 1 angstrom. Okay, compare the collision time. Here's the difference. Okay, so collision time with the time the molecule moves freely between two successive collisions. Okay, so the two times that he's talking about, the second one especially, the time that molecule moves freely between two collisions is time between two collisions. Time between collisions or successive collisions. Okay, right. Collision time means time duration of collision. Okay, that means the time for which the molecule interacts with another molecule. Okay, so there's a difference. Okay, if a ball is hitting a wall, the collision time means the time for which the ball hits the wall. Whereas the second one, time duration between successive collision is time taken when this first collision and second collision happen after some time, right? So these two he is asking us to compare. There's some information that he will deduce from this. You will get the value of mean free path, the formula that I wrote. A lot of printing errors were there in that book, so I tried my best to correct them. Where d is the diameter of the molecule. He substitutes the values for the numbers that he has given. Temp P and T are given. So substitute that. You end up getting the value of RMS velocity as 5.1 into 10 power 2 meter per second. And then the collisional frequency is VRMS divided by the lambda, or the time duration for collision is lambda divided by VRMS. Okay, so between the two successive collisions. Okay, so that comes out to be this frequency is 1 by time period. Whereas time for collision, what is time for collision? Time duration for the interaction of one molecule with another. What is that interaction? Let's go back. What he's trying to tell you is that when these two molecules interact with each other one after another, it happens when the molecule travels a distance of d diameter. So when it is away and away here, the interaction stops. Interaction starts when it enters the sphere and goes out of the sphere. So that happens for a distance of d, where d is given this way. So you're basically comparing lambda by VRMS with d by VRMS. Okay, so you could see the time taken between successive collision, which is lambda by VRMS, is 2 into 10 power minus 10, whereas time for collision is 4 into 10 power minus 13. As expected, the time for collision is much smaller and time between collisions is larger. Thus, the time between successive collisions is 500 times the time taken for the collision. Okay, it's very important information that it's like a lot of people are in the room and they're moving and they're colliding with each other. If they're colliding for lesser time and moving freely for more time, then that makes that they're much more in freedom. Okay, that is what the case of an ideal gas is all about. Because this value is very large, we can ignore the collisions between the molecules. When KTG says we ignore the collision between the molecules, it's not actually that they're not happening, but they are happening so less frequently, and molecules are moving almost freely, that our KTG works. Okay, so thus a molecule in a gas moves essentially free for most of the times. Okay, right? So that's the whole idea and the logic, and it's a very important NCERT problem whose numericals can be taken up in a future JEE mains exam. So please make sure you go through this. Next one, similar NCERT exemplar problem 13.30. I have already made a video in the past on this one. There's a wrong solution given on the concept of the collision frequency. This time the collisions not between the molecules, but collisions of the molecules with the walls and their frequencies discussed. And also this concept of collision with the walls is going to decide how much gas actually leaks when a hole is made on the wall. Okay, so please make sure you watch this video and then only continue in the next parts of the examples and the solutions I am going to give today. So you can actually watch it even after the video is ended, but some of the homework questions you would be able to only solve if you have watched this video completely. And also for your JEE mains, this exemplar set is a very important part. Okay, so the link of this video is in the description below or on the I button in case I could place it. Okay, so another leakage question. So whenever the gases leak out from a hole, how and what kind of formula you're supposed to apply. Small hole means how much small and how much large also matters. Okay, so like in the previous exemplar video, if you watch this one, you'll get an idea of how to attempt this question. So it's from Pathfinder Solutions. I'll give the solution in the series that I keep coming up with. Okay, so try this one out. Very, very important JEE mains and advanced question. Another practice problem on mixing and leakage. So we'll try this one out. This is a new one. It's not appeared in JEE mains, but gives us an insight into what should be the size of the hole when you mix two gases. Okay, so let's go ahead. A container is divided into two parts by a fixed partition with a small hole of diameter d. Helium gas in two parts is held at T1 equal to 150 Kelvin and T2 equal to 300 Kelvin. The ratio of mean free paths of lambda 1 by lambda 2 when the hole diameter is very large compared to lambda 1 and lambda 2. Okay, so try this one out. It's talking about ratio of mean free path when hole diameter. Here he says small hole, but it's larger than the mean free path. Okay, so let's move forward. So when D and the value of D is more than the mean free path, the flow can be considered to be having its own Maxwellian distribution. That means the states of the gas are defined as it moves through that particular hole. So there will not be any other type of motions. It will be straightforward motion that you can see. In this kind of scenario, if there is a container on this side and container on this side, then the equilibrium is established only when state of this gas and state of this gas match with each other in terms of pressure. Okay, right? So the value of P1 should be equal to P2 in this particular context. So since P1 and P2 are equal, and we have already formulated the value of the mean free path. So I think I borrowed it from the previous page. The value of mean free path is related to T divided by P, and therefore lambda 1 by lambda 2 is T1 by P1 divided by T2 by P2 for same gas. So molecules size D has got cancelled here. Since pressures were same in equilibrium, it depends on T1 by T2, which I think in this problem has been given as 150 by 300. So the answer should be 1 by 2. Okay, right. More bugging question would be, what if I had changed the information from D large compared to lambda to D small compared to lambda? Okay, right. So in that scenario, the idea is that once the diameter is too small, then there will be collisions that need to be considered even to the width of that particular um, hole or the valve through which the gas exchanges from left side to right side. All of this was nicely explained in a series of 2 or 3 videos I have done in the past, very old videos when I started my channel, I think 4 or 5 months back. but I won't say old is gold in this context, but they are definitely worth your time. So please make sure you go through those problems. First one is a problem that I picked from ERODO to explain the concept of effusion. Very, very important concept for your JEE Advanced. May not be asked in JEE Mains, but definitely for JEE Advanced. And a sure short question when it comes to KTG in Olympiads too. Okay, so please make sure you go through this. As a continuation of this resolved series question, which whose link is in the description below, I've made up a practice problem. You can see in this problem, at a time, I try to explain what happens if the diameter of the hole is very small compared to mean free path, and what happens if the diameter of the hole is very large compared to mean free path. It covers all the question and the concepts that we have done in the last 2 slides. Okay, so the role of diameter of a hole in the gas flow from one partition to another is very, very important. You could see that he has picked it up from this particular question in that previous practice problem. So this is the application problem. Link of this is in the description below. So please make sure you go through them. Okay, so let's move forward. Now that mean free path and all those collisions were done and dusted, let's move ahead with the September shift questions. Ideal gas in closed container is slowly heated. As its temperature increases, which of the following statements are true? Okay, the mean free path of molecules decreases, the mean collision time between molecules increases, the mean free path remains unchanged, and the mean collision time remains unchanged. Okay, I hope you have understood the concept and these names. Give it a try. There is a small issue in the wording of the question. I'll give you 3 or more 4 questions on this concept that they have asked in the past. I have one small suggestion there. So stay in track with what I'm going to explain. So he said closed container and slowly heated. Here is very, very clear. Okay, right? So that means it's a constant volume process. So volume of the gas is remaining fixed. Therefore, when the mean free path formula is written, this one is the preferred one. You could see that the number of molecules is fixed and volume is fixed. So the lambda is not going to change. The mean free path remains constant once the volume is fixed. Okay, right. Therefore, the value of P by T remains constant. And as the temperature increases, the number of collisions will increase, and therefore the time duration of collision is going to decrease. Relaxation time is another concept that is, or the name that is used for time, mean time of collisions. Okay, right? So they'll become more and more vibrant and more quicker, and therefore since mean free path is same and their speed has increased, the the time between the two collisions is going to reduce. Very interesting and straightforward question. What happened with some of the other questions? Let's see. Just try to practice this one and then we'll move on. This is a practice on the mean free path again. Why I chose this problem, I'll tell you once I show you the solution. Okay, right? So once you're done, you can match your answer. And how quickly you need to do with the kind of calculations that are involved at times. If you're unlucky in the exam, you can have a look at this particular problem. It was in January 2020 shift. Okay. So this was a bonus question. So just imagine the state of mind of a student who would have gone through all this difficult calculation and arrived at this. He would have actually doubted his calculation, right? So they give tough calculation, they make a mistake in it and they say bonus, but the student who has lost time and also got into tense mood because their answers are not matching with any of the 4 options, that is irreplaceable. So my suggestion in such questions is, when you know or practice the questions properly, you should also have an estimate of whether this question is going to take long or not. Then you should actually leave these questions to the end of the examination. Okay, so there's no guarantee that you'll actually get your calculation right. So until unless you are into this particular question in the last few minutes, please don't attempt it in the middle of the examination is my suggestion. Okay, right. Now let's look at the ambiguous question I was talking about. So this is in a completely different paper. Okay, so in a dilute gas, what is a dilute gas? Okay, dilute gas is a word that is used for low density, and low density refers to the gas being ideal. Okay, so that's the language play that they have used. At a pressure P and temperature T, the mean time between two successive collisions, which is your related to the mean free path and everything that I discussed, varies with temperature as. Okay, give it a try. It was an interesting question. In a sense, the way the question's language is there. Okay. Okay, so here in this question, he has never mentioned which process the gas is taking under, right? He mentions the pressure, mentions the temperature, and he then says, how does it vary with temperature? Okay, right? So if I go by the language and say the average time, it's not time, average time between collisions, he should have said, whenever he's giving the mean here, means the average, is lambda by VRMS. Okay, and at constant volume, I've already seen that the constant volume means the number per unit volume doesn't change, and therefore the lambda remains constant. Okay, but in this question, the lambda, which is related to T by P, if I write it this fashion and consider pressure as constant, because he just said at a given P, in the question he mentions pressure and not the volume, then you end up getting T power half. Whereas a constant volume would have given you that this entire numerator is a constant and root T, therefore T power minus half. What do you think the JEE has given as the answer? It gave actually T power minus half as the answer, not T power half. So until unless otherwise mentioned, the idea is that they have done it twice or thrice. Actually, I'll show you more questions. Until unless otherwise mentioned, go back to the question and try to understand that it's a closed container until unless a process is mentioned in the question, and then only you can go ahead and answer the question properly. Okay, so in this one, the JEE has given a key of 1 by root T by considering constant volume. Okay, which is debatable, but they have done it not once. Let's see another one. You could see in January 2020, same question asked in the graphical manner. Plot that depicts the behavior of mean free time. Mean free time is another word used for average time between collisions. So you have got 3 words by now. Okay, mean free time, average time or mean time between collisions, or relaxation time. All 3 mean the same. Okay, right? Time between, he's mentioned that also for people who don't know, for the molecules of an ideal gas as a function of temperature. He said this one as a function of temperature, but never mentioned is it being done at constant volume or constant temperature, pressure, right? So whenever in doubt, what is the lesson we have learned? Whenever in doubt, try to use constant volume. Okay, okay. Ambiguity will be removed, at least for the exam purpose. Okay, I think we got that 1 by root T. Again, we have used dV is equal to 0, constant volume is being considered. So 1 by root T is the consideration. So you'll get option C as the correct answer. You could see there is no root T. Option also is not there. Tau versus root T would have been a straight line like this if it were constant pressure. Okay, so answer should be C here. Let's move forward. A practice problem, a slightly difficult calculation with the average collision rate per second, okay, or the average collision time. The rate means per second, that means 1 by tau that he's talking about. This is 1 by tau. So always look at the question, read the thing properly. The same word has been used as the collisional frequency in that NCERT example that I have just now discussed 5 slides back. Okay, so try this one out. Slightly difficult calculation, you could see. So you should be aware of what to do in an exam with that calculation. You should, by the looking at the question, realize that we are into big trouble with the calculation. So then decide whether you have that kind of time in the exam to waste on this particular question or not, or can you do more questions and then come back to this one. So that kind of smartness you should have in the exam. All questions have equal marks, but all questions don't have equal approaches. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay, similar to your Maxwellian distribution, where all gas molecules don't move with same velocity, I don't think you need to distribute your time equally among all questions. Okay, don't give them equal importance in the exam is my suggestion. Okay, right. Let's move forward. Much clearer question. Okay, so always you don't get ambiguous questions. They are very, very clear also. So let's read this one. An ideal gas is enclosed in a cylinder at a pressure of 2 atmosphere and temperature given. Mean time between 2 successive collisions is mentioned in that condition. If the pressure is doubled and temperature is increased to 500 Kelvin, is very, very clear this time. The mean time between 2 successive collisions will be. These are questions on ratios. These are supposed to be attempted rather than the actual calculations that you had. Okay, so I think this one you will ace through very clearly. Last time slide I have just copied. This time lambda is not constant because T and P both are varied in a manner that he mentioned. Okay, so when T and P both are varied, then the mean time between collisions will depend on T power half by P. T has been made 5 by 3 times in the question. P has been made 2 times. Therefore, the new tau will be root of 5 by 3 divided by 2 into 6 into 10 power minus 8. And you should be able to realize that this number, square root of 5 by 3, is somewhere between 1 and 2. Therefore, this number has to be, when multiplied with 6, will give you an answer between 4 and 5, and not on that side or this side of the order will not change. So you look for that kind of an order, because he said will be close to. I think B is the most appropriate answer. With lot of clarity, I think you should be able to answer that. Okay, so answer should be B is my confidence. Okay, so let's move forward. I tried my best to select a question from AITS previous papers, wherein all the concepts that we have done in the last 5 to 6 slides on gas equation and RMS velocity, most probable velocity, then collisions with the walls of the container and the momentum transfer, and all those things are contained in this matching type question. Okay, so just give me the comment your answer in the uh, comment section below, along with the timestamp. Please do put the timestamp so that I can reply to you easily, and others can also see your answer and comment with their doubts. Okay, so I'll come up with the solution of this in the AITS Select series. You can also check the AITS Select series. Link is in the description below. Okay, so let's move forward. Another offbeat practice problem appeared in 2014. Again, looks a lot of calculations are there, but if you read it thoroughly, you will be able to. Don't judge the question without reading. That's what you're supposed to do. Read it and then decide whether you want to attempt it or not. Okay. Modern vacuum pumps can evacuate a vessel to a pressure. So I will leave this one for you. I think this is much simpler. You decide whether you want to attempt or not. I'll give you the key, okay, so that you can check it out. Now, right now, don't look at the screen. After checking, attempting the question, because the order is being asked, then only check the key. Okay, so I'm presenting you the key of the question. Okay, so let's move forward. Now we are into degrees of freedom and CP and CV ratios and all those kinds of situations. A lot of questions have been asked in the past, and also you need to be thorough with your discussions from NCERT book on these concepts. Okay, so match the CP by CV ratio. We'll start with the basic one. Okay, ideal gases with different types of molecules: monatomic, diatomic rigid ones, diatomic non-rigid ones, that means vibrations are allowed, and triatomic rigid molecules. Okay, let's have a discussion on that before we move on. So CP and CV ratio should be considered as gamma, which is 1 plus 2 by F, which is F is degrees of freedom. We all should be knowing it. Okay, right, based on the equipartition theorem and all that stuff. So monatomic gas is 3, diatomic rigid one is 5, which is 3 plus 2, 3 degrees of translational freedom and 2 degrees of rotational freedom. Whereas for diatomic non-rigid molecules, 3 plus 2 plus 2 more degrees of freedom for vibrational degrees. Okay, so I'll explain this too also when we go to the next page, where I'll take up the reference of NCERT to discuss this. And triatomic rigid molecules would be 6 degrees of freedom, no vibrations, but here it will be 3 plus 3. Okay, 3 plus 3, no vibrations whenever rigidity is mentioned. Okay, so that should answer your question. And taking reference from NCERT, and also there is some confusion between the vibrational degrees of freedom in physics and chemistry, so let's try to address that. Okay, a lot of things are on the board. On the left side, I picked up a reference from your NCERT textbook from these sections that you could see what NCERT talks about. Okay, so he takes a diatomic molecule to discuss these things. So when it is rigid rotator like a dumbbell, then it is considered to be having 3 translational and 2 rotational. And therefore, equipartition of energy discusses about the energy distributed to each degrees of freedom being the same, and each one gets a half kT per molecule. Therefore, 5 degrees of freedom gives you half into 5 kT, and if you multiply it for all the molecules with Avogadro number, you get 5 by 2 RT. For n moles, you'll get 5 by 2 nRT. But what if the diatomic molecule is not rigid, but has an additional vibrational mode? So as the molecule keeps moving in that gaseous container, you'll have vibrations also. Each vibrational mode is considered to be having a KT amount of distribution, because vibration will have 2 degrees of freedom. One due to the kinetic energy of vibration, and another one is due to the potential energy associated with the vibration, which is that spring form. Okay, so please understand, when we are still in the ideal gas theory, so some of you might think potential energy is not allowed. Remember, this is the intramolecular potential energy. That means within the molecule, the atoms can have potential energy, but from one molecule to another molecule, that cannot have the interaction. Okay, that means that is called intermolecular potential energy. That is not allowed. Intermolecular potential energy is 0 in case of ideal gas, but intramolecular potential energy in the form of vibration can be allowed, and each of that will be half kT. So each vibrational mode will be 2 degrees of freedom. That's why you could see a 2 times of half kT here, so makes it 7 degrees of freedom, and this would be this. Some of the chemistry students complain that they are taught different formula. So in JEE physics, we consider what is called as thermal degrees of freedom. There is another type of degrees of freedom in chemistry that we are given formula of. We don't name them. Teachers don't name them. That's where the confusion comes. They are called dynamic degrees of freedom. DOF means degrees of freedom. Dynamic degrees of freedom discuss the mechanics of the body. Thermal degrees of freedom discuss the energies and thermal motion energies of the body. And thermal degrees is a better word, because if someone gives you the thermal degrees of freedom, then you just multiply that number with half kT, you will get the energy of that particular system. Okay, so therefore diatomic gas, the degrees of freedom, which is thermal degrees of freedom, is 3 plus 2 plus 2. Whereas when someone asks you what is dynamic degrees of freedom, or in chemistry, you write 3 plus 2 plus 1 mode only, right? He said 1 mode, you'll write plus 1, and that's where the confusion comes. You get 6 in chemistry. Okay, so forget about the names. In physics, you'd say the vibration mode will contain 2 degrees of freedom, each vibration mode. So that's why plus 2. Both in physics and chemistry, one thing is common: total amount of energy should be the same. You can name the degrees of freedom differently, but the amount of energy will be the same. Students who are interested in reading more about this, especially who are preparing for IOQ and all, I have placed a link of a discussion from a famous website on this difference between the chemistry degrees and physics degrees of freedom in the description below. Just search for the link and then go and read it at your leisure. Okay, so not required for JEE Advanced and Mains, but those who are curious, that curiosity can be got rid of. Okay, so thermal and dynamic degrees of freedom. Okay, so let's move forward. Another question on September shift. Consider a gas of triatomic molecules. The molecules are assumed to be triangular and made of massless rigid rods. Whenever someone says rigid, celebrate, because you don't have vibrations there. Whose vertices are occupied by atoms? The internal energy of a mole of gas at a temperature T is. I think this is pretty straightforward. Okay, right? So, right, using the thermal degrees of freedom, the total degrees of freedom, there's no vibration, right? So 3 translational and 3 rotational, so total 6 degrees of freedom, and therefore F by 2 RT, right? So 3 RT is the required answer. Next one. It's a distracting question. Okay, people, when they read this question, they go into a lot of other things. So let's try to see that. An HCl molecule has rotational, translational, and vibrational motions. If the RMS velocity of HCl molecules is in its gaseous phase is V bar, RMS velocity, m is its mass, and Kb is the Boltzmann constant, then its temperature will be. He's mentioned something in the first statement and then gave RMS velocity and discussed about temperature. Okay, so try this one out. I already gave you a hint. It's a distracting question for the students. Overthinking might make the student commit a mistake here. Okay, you should realize the RMS velocity is independent of atomicity or the degrees of freedom. It is based only on the center of mass velocity of each molecule. Okay, so I think you should be able to write half V RMS square is equal to the value of 3 kT. Okay, right? So 3 kT, why 3 kT? You end up having the all rotational and translational and vibrational degrees of freedom. Okay, right? RMS velocity in the gaseous state is V bar, and therefore its temperature would be, okay, V by 2 root 3 RT by M, right? So this should be just a second, let me check. I am seeing something fishy here. Half VRMS square. VRMS is root 3 KT by M. So this should be by 2, right? They made a mistake. Okay, so this should be 3. Okay, yeah, now I remember this question. Answer should be this, but the NTA gave a wrong key here. Okay, and they didn't change as far as I remember. Okay, so NTA key was wrong in this particular question. Okay, we found it out. It's fine. So they got distracted maybe, but this is the required answer, right? You should realize that the RMS velocity is independent of the atomicity and also the degrees of freedom. It should be the same formula every time that you use here. Okay, so let's move forward. Mixture of gases questions are again very famous. I have only picked 2 to tell you that they keep repeating. There are many more actually. You can search for those questions, but you should just know the concept, and that's why I don't want to waste time on multiple questions on this. Okay, so I'll take up more questions on mixtures and their processes in the next video when I take up the thermodynamic processes and specific heat capacities and Carnot engines and all that. But this would be the simple thing in KTG that we are going to look at. Okay, so gas mixture of 3 moles of oxygen and 5 moles of argon at temperature T. So this is isothermal mixing. We are not going to change the temperature. Assuming the gases to be ideal and the oxygen bond to be rigid. Very nice and kind of him. No vibrational degrees. The total internal energy of the mixture in terms of RT factor is. Another question that they'll ask is when they are mixed, what would be the gamma value? Okay, so let's try to see the solutions together. It's called adiabatic mixing, where no heat from outside is added. So the mixtures work done is 0, W is 0, Q is 0. Therefore, delta U should be 0. So when you write Q is equal to delta U plus W, Q is equal to delta U plus W. Since you're mixing, the value of W will be 0, and adiabatically you're doing, this is 0. Therefore, U1 should be equal to U2. So when you're mixing, just add the internal energies, you end up getting the total energy in the first question. And the same logic you'll use, the value of the total internal energy would be the same. Therefore, the value of U mixture, right, should be N1 CV1T plus N2 CV2T, and this should be NCV mixture into T, right? Therefore, NCV mixture, when you divide it with N1 plus N2, this would be the CV mix. So this would be the new CV. Same logic, you will calculate CP and then you divide, then you can directly write with cancellation of T and N1 plus N2 for both CP and CV, you will be able to directly write this option. Substitute the required conditions given in the question, you'll get 19 by 13. Or you can directly do this. After solving for CV, you just add R to it, you get CP and then take the ratio. Do it this way or do it this way. It should be giving you the same result. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, right. Consider two ideal not diatomic gases A and B at some temperature T. Molecules of the gas A are rigid and have mass m. Here is very clearly mentioning. Okay, so molecules of gas B have an additional vibrational mode and have mass of m by 4. The ratio of specific heats of CVA and CVB of gases A and B respectively is. Okay, so if the gas B has additional vibrational mode, what happens to it? Okay, so let's try this one out. As I told you, FR by 2, where for gas A, where there is no degree vibrational degrees of freedom, you'll just add 3 and 2, you'll get 5. For diatomic, which is having an additional mode, one mode of vibrational degree, will give you 2 vibrational degrees of freedom. So you'll have 7R/2, simple ratio, 5/7. Get the marks, get out from there. Okay, all right. So let's move forward. This was slightly more tricky. Students got confused actually in the exam because they were not getting integer answers. So let's try to tackle this one. Okay. So specific heat Cp and Cv of gas of diatomic molecules A are given in units of joule per mole per Kelvin. That is your SI units. And the value of Cp was given as 29 and Cv was 22. Another gas of diatomic molecules had corresponding values of 30 and 21. If they are treated as ideal gases, then he's asking whether B has vibrational mode or A has it, or etc., etc. So read the options on your own, try to attempt it. This was troublesome question in that particular exam. Okay, so let me give you the solution, and you'd be a bit cursing the NTA for this. Okay, so when you take that Cp and Cv, you get 1.32, and therefore since this is less than 1.4, which is 7/5, you would consider it as a diatomic consideration. Okay, right. And why is it not exactly matching? Actually, the degrees of freedom won't be integers or proper numbers, and that I'll explain from the text that is we are going to refer NCERT again in the coming slides. It is the estimated value, right? And as the temperature keeps increasing, actually these degrees of freedom keep changing, and they are fractionally changing. Okay, so each degree of freedom is said to be frozen for lower temperatures and gets activated once the temperature increases. And this activation takes place in a continuous manner and not a discrete manner. The values don't jump from your so-called 7/5 to 5/3 and all. There are intermediate values also that are possible. So that information is needed in this particular question. So whenever you have an answer which is greater than 1.43, you'll realize that your 7/5, which is considered to be the rigid condition, is now having better degrees of lesser degrees of freedom. Remember, if gamma is less, you should say that F is more. So since this one's F is more, this one's gamma is more, its degrees of freedom are less. Therefore, B, we assume that some modes of vibration are frozen, and for A, it actually has a mode of vibration. So for B, it is frozen, and for A, it is open, is our consideration. Okay, so that's the whole idea. And for 1.32, you can actually in the exam, I know in the book he said less than 1.4, but you can even go ahead and think of it as very close to 1.33 to discuss the degrees of freedom, which are more in number. Okay, so the best possible answer is A. It should be a guesswork from 4 options. The best possible answer is that A has vibrational mode, therefore more degrees of freedom, so lesser gamma, more degrees of freedom. Okay, let's move forward. Basic question, and different language is used. Okay, so it has repeated twice and they took a decade to repeat it. That's why doing PYQs is very, very important. You could never know from how far behind the questions can be kept on asked. Okay, so that's why I keep saying na, PYQs are the alpha and omega of your preparation. Okay, so let's look at the first one, and second one I think you can do it on your own. 1 kg of diatomic gas is at a pressure of this much and the density is given. What is the energy of gas due to its thermal motion? This is a very important word. What is meant by this word in both the questions? What is the energy due to thermal motion? Thermal motion means, again, I told you, it's only due to VRMS. Half m VRMS square he is asking. It is nothing to do with the rotational and vibrational motion of the particles. It's only the normal motion of the gas. This has nothing to do with the diatomic nature of the gas. Okay, so this is going to be independent of the nature. So diatomic gas or monoatomic gas, it doesn't matter. It is the same amount of energy that you will take in both the problems. That is half m VRMS square. So that's what we are going to take up here. Okay, I'm quite sorry. So he's talking about thermal motion, not the linear motion. So yeah, it does matter in terms of, I goofed it up. I'm extremely sorry. Due to thermal motion means the all the forms of energy due to degrees of freedom. Okay, so due to the degrees of freedom, so F by 2, you're talking about the internal energy. So you're talking about thermal motion means is another way of writing internal energy. Okay, random energy or thermal energy mean the same. Okay, so random motion or thermal motion mean the same. Let me write it in a different color. Okay, right. So I think I need to go back and check one of the HCl molecule question that I discussed. So all the vibrational motion, RMS velocity in its gaseous phase, and then this problem is different. Here we're talking about the RMS velocity and then relating it to temperature. So this was, we stand on the same ground. Whereas when someone associates the thermal motion energy, all the forms of energy. So 43rd one, we were right, but let's go back. Yeah, this one. I just apologize again. The thermal motion means random motion. That means the total energy that he's talking about. Okay, right. I just got it out whether I made a mistake there also. That's why I tried to go back. Okay, so I hope things are clarified in both the problems. I think why I picked the second one also is that I just wanted to talk about the order also. So here, the second question, he discussed the order of energy. You could see he's asking only order here. Whereas in the first one, he's asking the actual value. Okay, so you see in the second one, the value came out to be 1.5 into 10 power 4. So the order has to be mentioned as 10 power 4. Just a one small question. Instead of 1.5, if I had 5 into 10 power 4, just like this one, what would have been the order? Will you answer it as 10 power 4 or 10 power 5? Just comment below with the timestamp. I'll correct it because this is a very important concept from your first chapter, Physics and the World, in your NCERT textbook. So what if this was 5 into 10 power 4? In this question, had they asked the order, would you report it as 10 power 4 or 10 power 5? Okay, right. Another question again, decade gap, and they have repeated. There are quite a few number of questions on this context. They have repeated this question even in JEE Advance in one of the papers. And okay, so CP and CV are specified at constant pressure. This is very, very cunning and cheating way of asking question in the exam when student is under a lot of pressure. Okay, so usually we use this symbols for molar specificates. Okay, so he's talking about specific heat. Okay, so specific heat is per unit mass. That's the important part. Okay, so when he's taking it for hydrogen and nitrogen, we generally tend to consider Cp minus Cv is R, right? But that's not the correct answer here. So since he's talking about a specific heat, let me underline that. And at least during the 2007 question, then he talked about per unit mass. So when nothing is mentioned and someone says specific heat, please register this in your mind. Specific heat, and he puts a full stop, it is always considered to be per unit mass. Okay, right. So that has to be considered by you while reading the question. And that's why this A is not equal to B. And I think it comes out to be in the form of ratio of masses. And you should get A is equal to 14B in the first one and R by 28 in the second one. Okay, so let's move forward. Using equipartition of energy, the specific heat of aluminum, so you're into solids now, okay, at room temperature can be estimated to be, he's given atomic weight and he's asking us to estimate the specific heat of aluminum using the concept of equipartition of energy, which we used for KTG, but we can extend it to liquids and gases. I'll also give you an NCERT reference of why and where this question was picked up from, NCERT middle. Okay, so is the solution. He discusses about 6 degrees of freedom. As you could clearly see, he's talking about 6 degrees of freedom for solid. Okay, right. Solids don't have translational degrees of freedom. They just stay at place in their lattice positions and they vibrate. Then why are they taking 6 degrees of freedom? You should be understanding this is a 3-dimensional lattice structure. Therefore, there will be three kinetic energy of vibrations in 3 different directions and 3 potential energies because of the 3 different interactions that it has in 3 dimensions. Okay, so that's the idea. So let's refer to NCERT to get more information out of this. So specific heat capacity of solids, you could read this section. It's very, very clearly written that when we apply equipartition energy to the specific heat of solids and consider a solid of n atoms, each vibrating at about its mean position, an oscillation in one dimension has an average energy of 2 times. Remember, each vibration mode has 2 degrees of freedom. That means one dimension, one mode. But in 3 dimensions, that average has to be further multiplied with 3. That means 6 degrees of freedom, 3 dimensions, and 2 per each mode. Therefore, 6 into kT by 2, which gives you 3 kT. That's why in the previous question, we have taken 3 kT. For a mole of solid, N has to be equal to Na, and therefore total energy becomes 3 RT. Okay, so for 1 mole, 3 RT, and for 1 molecule, 3 kT. Now, at constant pressure and constant volume, because most of the times the solid's volume is not going to change by much, so the delta V is negligible. Therefore, the value of delta U would be equal to delta Q. This is 0 for solids. For gases, if they're flexible, the volumes appreciably change, but for solids, this is nearly equal to 0. Therefore, this would be this ratio, delta Q is equal to delta U by T, and therefore you end up getting 3R. That's why most of the solids actually have the same value of molar heat capacity, which is 3R. Specific heat will change, please understand, per unit mass, but molar heat capacity, you could see that taking equipartition of energy is a very good approximation. As you could see, for most of this copper, lead, silver, all these are very, very close values. Even aluminum. Carbon is an exception. You have to discuss that separately. Okay, rest of the things are actually having almost the same value, proving that 3R is a decent approximation for our JEE mains papers. More important information in future, they can ask about liquid also, especially specifically water. We treat water is also like solid. So just in case in JEE mains they ask you that treat it as what solid, and then take 3 kT also as the same value of the average energy per unit atom. Okay, so therefore you have H2O, so 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. So total you'll end up having 9 RT. Okay, so 9 RT. So specific heat is 9R. And 9R, if you convert it into, this is a very nice way of remembering the discussion about calorie, right? So in the calorie, gram, degree units, water is defined to have unit specific heat, right? That's how the calorie is defined, right? 1 calorie is defined as the heat given to water, especially 1 gram, to rise its temperature from 14.5 to 15.5. That is 1 degree centigrade. So all these units should match, right? So since 1 mole of water has 18 grams, the value of capital R in that calorie units is approximately 2. So in that calorie per mole per Kelvin, it is approximately 2. You could see all these things are matching. 9 2s are 18, 18 per mole, which is 1 calorie per gram. You could see all these things nicely set up, telling you that there are somewhere around, you could say, 18 degrees of freedom for water molecule. Okay, so 18 degrees of freedom for water molecule. 6 for each one. Okay, so 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen I have considered. However, with more complex molecules like alcohol or acetone, based on degrees of freedom, that becomes more complicated. And there is a discussion on what happens for very, very low temperatures. Remember, ideal gas theory is valid for high temperature and low pressure, not for low temperature. So at very low temperatures, what happens is that some of the degrees of freedom are frozen. That's the word they'll use. Right. The behavior of specific heat at low temperatures shows the inadequacy of classical physics. Remember, all this is classical mechanics that we are studying. Right, so can be explained only by invoking quantum considerations, as was first shown by Einstein. So very low temperatures, KTG fails. And quantum mechanics requires a minimum non-zero amount of energy before a degree of freedom comes to play. I already told you that 1 degree of freedom to another degree, it will not jump from integer to integer. Actually, there will be some fractions also. So some amount of energy is needed for each degree to be unfrozen or becoming active. This is also reason why vibrational degrees of freedom come into play only in some cases, not all cases. You're not sure. So in JEE mains, most of the times, that's why they avoid this discussion. Okay. And JEE advanced, they have never asked any vibrational degree of freedom. So please do read these 2 sections very thoroughly so that you are ready for your JEE mains preparation. Okay. So let's move forward. So a practice problem for Olympiad aspirants, also JEE Advanced, on frozen degrees of freedom with the information given. More than one may be correct. So this question was framed during one of my exams for my students. So I'm going to give the solution in the Olympiad workout series. So after reading the question, try to comment your answer, A or B or C or D or more than one, with the timestamp below. I'll answer whether you're done it correctly or not. Okay, so this is very interesting and slightly challenging question. So let's move forward. We're into almost last one or two questions. Very standard one that has been asked both in JEE mains and advanced is about moving a vessel. Okay, a thermally insulated vessel contains an ideal gas of molecular mass m and ratio of specific heats gamma. It is moving at a speed v and it's suddenly brought to rest. Assuming no heat is lost to the surroundings, its temperature increases by. Okay, so now options are given. You're supposed to estimate the temperature rise due to a vessel which was originally moving is brought to rest. Okay, standard question. You should know the basics of this. Okay, so what happens when you are actually moving the vessel? There is an orderly kinetic energy off center of mass. The entire system is moving, so there is a half m vcm square. Suddenly you stop it, that ke off center of mass is lost. In what form? It can't go in the form of heat to the outside surroundings because it's thermally insulated. So it creates a disorderly kinetic energy or random kinetic energy with respect to center of mass. So this change increases the internal energy. So the orderly kinetic energy becomes the disorderly kinetic energy, which is nothing but the internal energy, the random motion energy that I spoke of. And please understand, during this stoppage period, someone is actually stopping it. It takes some time, right? During that period, the states of the gas are not defined. You cannot write PV equal to nRT equation while this disorder is getting created. So it takes some time. You wait for that time for that settlement to happen. Once the settlement is there, the pressure becomes defined, volume becomes defined, temperature becomes defined, and then only you are supposed to write it. Okay, so half mv square that you had before orderly should be equal to ncv delta t. dt's are not defined. ncv delta t over a period of time, and cv can be written as r by gamma minus 1. We'll discuss more of these in the next video where we talk about specific heat capacities and gas processes, and then you rearrange this, you'll end up getting this. Okay, so very standard question, appeared many times in many exams. Okay, and here's the reverse of the previous problem that I like it a lot because it's a basic question. Test your understanding of these energies that I have discussed of center of mass and about center of mass. And I'll answer this in the Pathfinder solution series. You can try it out. It's the reverse because here there will be a moving container, a rest container which is made to move abruptly with a constant velocity. So what happens to temperature of the gas? Exactly the reverse of the previous problem. Okay, so let's move forward. So upcoming video is going to finish the heat and thermodynamics, which was a long, arduous wait for me. I wanted to finish the entire heat and thermodynamics in one video, but doing justice to the amount of information that is needed for JEE mains for this particular topic is cumbersome. I never wanted to compromise on the quality and the quantity of problems I'm taking up. Doing justice to the student who is spending enough time on my channel. Each and every time a student spends 15 minutes, I would love to give 20 concepts, 25 concepts, and student feels happy while going out of my video is what I wanted. That's why I've divided the heat and thermodynamics in three parts. Already we have done thermal properties. We have done KTG now. This is going to finish for sure the heat and thermodynamics completely. So it will be as extensive and even more exhaustive than what I have done here, with more and more practice problems for all the cadres of the students, both JEE mains, advanced and Olympiads, so that students are not just learning it for the exam, but also are able to visualize this topic. Very difficult topic to visualize because a lot of things we can't see in this, but we can actually feel once you understand it. Okay, so I hope you will be keeping me company in that video also, which I'll take time to prepare it, but whenever I actually try to get it forward to you, I hope I don't disappoint you. That's my main motto, rather than just publishing videos day in day out. Okay, so also check out the rest of the thermal properties and heat and thermodynamics challenges. I made a separate playlist of all these questions, not just this series, but also right from the inception of channel, whatever I've done in one or two playlists. All those playlists are in the description below. So please go through them, especially for JEE Advanced and Physics Olympiads. They are very, very important. Okay, so you'll love them if you're new to this channel. And apart from this series, there are other series that are usual story, right? Pathfinder Solution series, Olympiad workout, all these things I can't name and waste your time right now. Just go through the description in below the video judiciously, try to click on all the links, try to choose your series, watch 2 or 3 videos per day before your exams start. I think once 70 180 odd videos, you should be able to revise and finish within no time. Okay, so try to watch them, try to put comments. I keep replying whenever doubts are there, whenever I get time. I'll try to answer the doubts as elaborately as possible, right? Most of my subscribers know that, so please do keep in touch whenever you are having doubts. Okay, so in case you like this video, please do share it, give it a like, and do subscribe to my channel. And in case you have your friends, please do bring them to our channel. It will be more fun discussing physics with JEE physics, especially with a lot of students. Okay, so thanks for staying this long. You are very patient and sincere, and I like it that way. So see you in the next one.